Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and in today's video of Wisdom and Associates, I'm going to be reading you a specific chapter 4 from the book A Date with Jesus that was written by Martha Mbugguss. Mbugguss is spelled Mbugguss. Welcome. The title of the chapter is called Encounter with Eastern Mysticism. It starts, in a few moments, Uncle D started doing something I had never seen anybody else doing before. He would hook himself on a tree branch using his legs, his head facing downwards. He would be in that position for more than half an hour. Needless to say, I could not sleep in the house of my new friends. I insisted on going to the university hostels, which were empty at the time, save for a few employees. After a few days living in the hostels, I decided to take a stroll and see the environment. It was during the walk that I met an African for the first time. As it turned out, the African was a Kenyan whose name was Job. He kindly facilitated my finding a residential place with other Kenyans and registering at St. Aloysius College, which was affiliated to Jabalpur University and was a well-disciplined Roman Catholic institution. I was very excited to join other students and commence my studies. In the second week of learning, two well-dressed guests visited our class. The purpose was to teach us the way of enlightenment through transcendental meditation. Although I do not remember all the details of the discussion, I recall something which suddenly cautioned my otherwise great curiosity. We shall take those of you who enroll through the lessons. We shall ensure you get the right dosage at any given time, one said. The right dosage? My mind could not stop thinking of those two words. They made me think of hospitals, doctors, and medicine. Somehow, they triggered a danger signal in my mind. I decided not to join the lessons. I was, however, going to read anything I could lay my hands on concerning transcendental meditation, as well as monitor the progress of any of my colleagues who joined the lessons. One of my friends from a nearby college, who I will simply call Uncle D, joined the transcendental meditation classes. He was a young, talkative man and full of laughter. He was also witty, pleasant, and fully committed to whatever he did, including learning transcendental meditation. Transcendental meditation is good, refreshing, and relaxing, Uncle D would tell us in the first few months of the lessons. In about 3 months, I started worrying about Uncle D. He had become less talkative, withdrawn, and moody. He preferred sitting alone, cross-legged for hours on end. In a few more months, Uncle D started doing something I had never seen anybody else doing before. He would hook himself on a tree branch using his legs, his head facing downwards. He would be in that position for more than half an hour. At first, I, together with other friends, tried to persuade him to stop such gimmicks. We felt he was endangering his life and could easily fall and break his neck. Our pleas fell on deaf ears. For many evenings, I would watch him from a distance, holding my breath in case he fell. I wanted to be sure that someone was at hand to assist. The more I watched, the more I questioned the purpose. of transcendental meditation or any other form of enlightenment if it was to turn an otherwise normal man into a liability. My questions were justified. 1 year into the transcendental meditation, and the man was becoming quite weird. He insisted it was more fun riding a bicycle backwards. The bicycle was our main mode of transport, and most of us had learned cycling and riding motorbikes. Uncle D decided he would be cycling backwards from college to his residence more than 5 kilometers away every day. The speed of his reverse cycling increased by the day. As was likely to happen, he one day hit some stones and fell down on his back. His head was injured. Friends rushed a profusely bleeding Uncle D to hospital, where he was urgently attended to. He got 7 stitches to show for his acquired madness. Before long, Uncle D was back on the roads, cycling backwards, as if he had not learnt a thing. One Saturday afternoon, he surprised his friends with a proclamation. "Aha! I have heard a snake laughing on the roof." Before anybody could respond, Uncle D rushed out, promising to get rid of the laughing snake. He found his way to the sharply angled brick roof. He was still swearing that the snake had to die, come what may, when the worst happened. The bricks gave way under his weight, and the man quickly slid down. As he landed on the ground, a heap of bricks followed him. They landed on his barely healed head. It took several strong men to tie up Uncle D, force him into the slow-moving rickshaw, and rush him to hospital. None of them thought he would reach hospital alive, since he was bleeding a lot. He was still shouting that he wanted to be allowed to go and kill the laughing snake. It was apparent that had he been alone at the time, he would have easily pursued his laughing snake, searched, and killed himself in the process. Besides the pain he gradually experienced, Uncle D received 11 stitches on the head and wasted precious time in hospital. He missed that final year's exams and lost a year of his academic calendar. He therefore had to repeat the year. Once again, I felt greatly worried about Uncle D. He was becoming a liability to all his friends and causing them endless worries. Nobody knew what the man would do next. His family had, of course, to sustain him an extra year in a foreign land. Although Uncle D was my yearmate, I left him behind, repeating the year he had lost. As we said goodbye to one another, I hoped against hope that he would see the futility of seeking the so-called enlightenment and start living a normal life. Several years later, I was to meet Uncle D in the streets of Nairobi. We updated each other on what we had been doing since we parted in India. I was very delighted to see him looking healthy and responsible. My joy lasted until I told him, "Bye, see you again." He suddenly became agitated. "What do you mean? What do you want to see me again for? What is it that you want to find out, and why not do it now?" I quickly took cover in the street crowds for fear of my dear life. In my mind was the disturbing question: could the damage he suffered in India have been permanent? So this is the book I have been reading from. It is A Day to Jesus, written by Martha Mbugguss. I have no information as to whether she's still alive or not. All I do have is the book that I was given by a close friend of mine when I was in college. I was in Daystar University at the time, and she happened to have the book and she lent it to me to read. And I remember when I was reading through that chapter, especially Transcendental Meditation, that was the first time I think I sort of kind of came across those terminologies concerning spiritual awakening. And I think because I read that book at that time, I think it kind of discouraged me from pursuing things to do with meditation, teshuva, returning to the breath, returning to the ancient paths. Those are things I wanted to learn. But I think because I came across that book first, I kind of said, I don't want to ride my bicycle backwards, and I don't want to start looking for a laughing snake somewhere up on the roof, that kind of a thing. And because of that, I kind of took a long time to myself to come to this journey where I started to now cultivate consciousness with the goal in mind that I would also gain enlightenment, but I would be doing it in Yahweh. I didn't have how can I say, I sort of, at the time leading up to my early 40s, I didn't have that encouraging mentorship from any source whatsoever for me to pursue enlightenment, to pursue spiritual awakening, especially in Yahweh, especially in Yeshua HaMashiach. It was only, let's say, until maybe 2023, the year 2023, around that time when I started now to pursue spiritual awakening in now Yahweh himself. That was something that I came to land upon by mistake, by accident, if you can put it that way. So anyway, my journey to what I am now talking about now has not been an easy one, and it has been full of ups and downs. But now I am confident enough to say that the journey was kind of part of the initiation process. So for me to get to this place where I am today, I needed to go through a season where, as much as I had wanted to pursue this thing called spiritual awakening, I had to go through my own set of crises and losses and abandonment and what have you, so that as I continued now to go through these hardships and adversity, then I would find some way of now pressing into ascending into the supernatural, because now I was ready at that time. So for anybody who's feeling, what is meditation, what is ascending into the supernatural, why you're always talking about cultivating consciousness, I want to encourage you and tell you, if you do it in the right deities, if you do it in Ruach HaKodesh, if you do it in Yeshua HaMashiach, if you do it in Yahweh, then you will be able to gain enlightenment God's way. I honestly do not understand how, as a Christian believer, you want to dominate in the marketplace, and yet you are going to be working alongside New Agers, yoga practitioners, or Buddhists for that matter. Because these are people who have cultivated consciousness in those deities themselves. So for you to be a Christian and to act like that, that cultivating consciousness is not something that Christians should be doing, I honestly just feel very sorry for you. Okay? Now, today, this is what you're going to talk about. I'm hoping to see the next episode. I really appreciate your support for those who are following me. Your comments are things I need to also get feedback on, so that we can, so that you and I, as we go through this journey together, I can be able to also do research on what it is you want to know about. Okay? I really wish you a really good afternoon. I really wish you the rest of the week that is going to be blessed. Until then, this is Jemima saying bye.